Hi guys, so that's week 1 of the new season done, and this week we've been playing Balloon Bomber, released by Taito in 1980. I mentioned last week that it ran on Space Invaders hardware, so it's got similarly basic graphics, and we'll see things improve as we progress through the decade this season. I don't dislike a fixed shooter such as this, and after playing it this week, I neither love nor hate it. I can see why people would get frustrated, which they certainly did this week, and whilst it did annoy me, I did get into it and began to spot the patterns of where the bombs come from and how to make some progress. Initially, I was just clearing the screens as quick as possible, but then I realised that some point pressing was required. Once the plane appears and starts dropping bombs, I was shooting the bombs and not taking out all of the balloons. Eventually, I began to understand the bomb patterns. The balloons drop bombs as far across the screen as you can get. If you're on the edge of the screen, they will drop it often just outside of your reach. However, if you're a little further from the edge, they will drop it where you can get it. They do this to capture more of the ground on you, but there is a sweet spot where you can wait. They drop a bomb where you can get it, but you're close enough to reach it. This means you can point press every level, but especially the first couple. This strategy has risk associated with it, as you need to be pretty accurate to shoot the bombs, but it seems essential to get a big score on this one, as once the balloons get to the bottom of the screen, then it's just a matter of time until a bomb lands on your head, or you get squeezed out. There were times when I was making good progress and milking some points, but a couple of mistakes and your whole game can disappear quickly. I achieved a light point press to achieve my score, but Graham has certainly nailed it. Not a classic game to kick things off, but I'm sure we'll have some to come. So let's take a look at the scores. We had 19 scores this week, which is similar to the end of last season, and our core of players have returned. Alex sent me an apology, he'll be sitting out this season. And Andrew tempted us with a return, but didn't fancy this one. He did post a 1.6 million Gradius 5 score though, which would have destroyed everyone last week. Given this was a bit of a Marmite game, our lower scores are more token efforts. Getting 5 or 6,000 is not that difficult here, but difficulty quickly ramps up. In 10th we have Bob, who is joined by Robert and Paul in the 8,000s. Mark is just ahead, and the only one in the 9,000s. Getting over 10,000 is doing pretty well. Steve is in 6th, Colin has done well for 5th, we have a tie for 3rd between Ian and Juff with 11,850, but Ian got his score in 1st. I'm only just ahead with 12,550, but way ahead of everyone, and the only person to really get on top of this game is Graham. He presumably has nailed the point pressing technique, and this score actually beats the current Twin Galaxies world record. So very well done to Graham, and this is clearly a game he's very good at. After a week out, here is the return of the score distribution. I know Juff missed seeing a few graphs. Nothing too out of the ordinary here. We see the majority of people ending up in the centre of the distribution. It's probably our top 12 where we see that transition from token to decent effort. Those that got just over 10,000 are together, with me squeezing just into the next bin. Beyond that though, we see a big gap to Graham. He's 2 bins ahead of me and very much an outlier on this plot. That's a great effort on a game where he was clearly the class of the field. And here's the first example of the difficulty curve. Again, we see what we might expect. There was a sharp increase initially, showing that most people were able to get on top of the early game. There is then a gradual increase, reflecting the linear scoring system. And then we finally have Graham on the right, showing how if you can master point pressing here, then much bigger scores are attainable. Given this was the first week, there's no need to show the current table. So let's get on to this week's game. This week's year is 1981, with another load of cool games coming out. I swapped back to the old selector as the new one was causing me audio issues. I've had 16 games suggested to me, including 4 suggestions of Gallagher and another 3 of Ladybug, which was also Graham's choice, so after that win I've trebled his slots, giving it 5 out of 18 chances of appearing. So let's set the selector going and see what we get. Okay, here we go. Okay, so it's a game from Leaksy, and it's Kicks. So we've previously had, I guess, the sequel to this, Volfied, and I think this is another Taito game. So Kicks, classic game, so you kind of capture parts of the screen by kind of drawing, by moving the kind of cursor with the joystick. So yeah, I'll go record some footage and be back in a second. So this week's game is Kicks, released by Taito in 1981. I think this game will be familiar to most people, given it saw releases on most of the 8-bits, either as an official version or a clone. Interestingly, it was coded by a husband and wife team of Randy and Sandy Pfeiffer. Compared to Volfied that we had before, I feel like this is actually harder, although similarly unpronounceable. You have the kicks in the middle, wiggling about, and then sparks chasing you around the edge, and the fuse which will get you if you dawdle when drawing. There are 2 speeds of drawing, where the slower one gives you double points, which adds an additional dynamic. I feel like this might be another frustrating one, but I'm sure there's a few fans out there. Ian won Volfied, so I'm sure he'll be one to watch. I did enjoy Volfied, but I'm not sure I feel the same about this. We'll be using the Rev 2 ROM with default settings. I hope you all enjoy playing some kicks, and I'll be back next week with the scores. See you then.